If a person knows not that he knows not, ignore him. If he knows that he knows not, go teach him. If he knows that he knows, go learn from him.
Good evening and welcome again to the Bhagavad Gita talk. I hope you're enjoying it, because as I am teaching it and hearing it, because I'm teaching it, it just becomes so alive. And then when I see my patients and I go, oh my God, all the answers are here, because the greatest problem for humanity is, guess what? Attachment. It's all about attachment. Excuse me. And that's what the Gita teaches us and tells us, to be constantly aware of who we really are. Because if you are not aware of who you really are, you keep getting attached to things on this earth. But how not to? Somebody asked me the other day when they came to see me, Nalanie, I'm so attached. How do I detach? How do I detach? I know I am attached to my desires. I know I'm attached to my children being successful. I know I'm attached to the way the world looks at me. So I'm never comfortable because I'm attached to all these things. How do I get rid of that? And I go, patiently endure them. Study the knowledge and reflect. Just reflect. Because even if you meditate and you don't detach, it's very hard. You really have to contemplate. You have to really think. And then you think, and every day you see it more clearly. Every time you hear of a death, you know it more clearly in your heart and your mind. So as you get older, automatically, as you see suffering, as you see pain, and you see bitterness, but you also see beauty when you study the self. You also see love when you study the self. Because then you understand the self, the higher self, is love. This is why I love the Upanishads, the Lord of love. And for me, where do you feel love? Simply ask your question, that simple question. Where do you feel it from within yourself? So when that connection is lost, it's because there's some desire that's stopping it, there's some fear that's stopping it, there's some anger. Well, Sri Krishna covers all this in the Gita. And when you apply it to your life, slowly, you really have to be very patient. But you have to watch yourself constantly, in the sense that when you see yourself getting attached too much to something physical, this is my house and I can't let it go, or this is my husband. When you start saying my very loudly, you know you have a big problem. You know you have a big problem. You let it go easy, because nothing is yours. And that's a really good practice. You feel really glad when you lose something, because it teaches you that you can do it. You can be balanced in pain and pleasure. How do you know you can do it? Only when you experience it. So when you resist and you can't do it and you can't let go, then no, this is your problem, your ego, nothing else. No gods come to punish you. And the Bhagavad Gita tells us that. Krishna gives Arjuna a choice to follow the evolution of the spirit, or to follow the fear of the past. We can all dwell in the past of what happened to us with our lower nature. What is your lower nature? Before you understood that you were consciousness. So you believed that this is all you have in your life. This is the past belief. And in the past, you may have suffered a lot and gone through lots of problems. And here he's telling us, let that go. let that go. And I tell my patients that today is a new beginning. Don't think that just because you've been so traumatized for so many years that it has to go on. You are not the victim. You just have to find the solution. All right? And that's the teaching of the Gita. It's really all about non-attachment. And last week we finished off at Sloka 63, page 29, the Yoga of Wisdom, when Arjuna asks, tell me, what does a person who has really understood this wisdom, what does he talk like? How does he think? How do we recognize such a person? And then he tells them, the one that doesn't get overexcited or over-depressed, right? High highs, low lows, right? You all know that. Who doesn't have any expectations, who accepts cold and heat, pain and pleasure. And then he tells us in 62 and 63, which I really think all of you students of the Gita must memorize. All right, I did it last week, but I did it quickly, and I think you understood it. But I'd like to read it again, because why should you memorize this? Because this will explain to you what happens when you lose it. What has happened to you when you lose it? When you lose, I know. Okay, this is what happened. From brooding on sense objects, I got attached to something. Oh, I need this now. If I don't have this, I won't be happy. I won't be happy. Attachment to them arises. The more you think you will be happy, guess what? You get so attached, you get more attached. And out of this attachment, personal desire is born. So now you saw something you really wanted, and you become attached to it, and then now I have to have it comes next. If I don't have it, because you're brooding, right? And what do you see with people who always believe they're victims of life or circumstances? What do? They brood on it again. Poor me, poor me, poor me. It's a brooding to their emotion, to a past emotion. Oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. It's all me. You hear that word, all right? So when personal desire is born and not fulfilled, guess what happens? You get angry. I deserve it. Why didn't I get it? I did this, I did this, I did this. So it's an illusion again. It's all in your mind. Then when you get angry, it confuses your thinking. You all know that. You've been angry? Everybody here on Zoom here? Been angry. When you're angry, you don't think straight. I know that in my early life before yoga, and when I was angry and I couldn't think straight, those were the times I regretted what I said or the way I acted, because I acted when I was angry, and that brings regret later. I always tell people, if you're angry, don't make a decision. Keep quiet, wait till the anger subsides, and then make a decision. Because when you're angry, you're confused. It's not clear. It's not calm. So watch out for that anger, which in turn disturbs the memory. How many times have I seen couples who break up and they're about to get a divorce or separation, whatever it is, and their memory is all bad. They will tell me everything bad about their partner. And then I go, wow, if your partner is so bad, why did you marry them in the first place? Right? They forgot all the good. They really simply forgotten all the good things. I said, this is not truthful. Then I make them tell me all the good things that they've experienced in the relationship. And then when they start talking about the good things, both of them, you almost see a healing process happening in front. I see it happening in front of me, because the anger over one thing disturbed the truth. Now do you understand the war, internal war we go through? This is Arjuna and his 4 brothers going through the 100 negative thoughts. This is all the battle of our own mind. This is constant. And we'll have to face this for all our life. The only thing is you get better at it when you understand it. And this is why the study is here, to understand the state of our mind, which is constantly in battle. So when memory fails, reasoning is ruined. When reason is gone, one is lost. And normally when reason is gone, this can lead to severe mental illness, all right? When people don't see reason, they can't see reason, they only see the whole world attacking them. Nobody's good, everybody attacks them, they're the only one that's good. That's because the reason is gone. And when they think only I'm good and everybody is bad, they're actually very lost when they're in that position. They're more lost than they ever was, because they are part of everyone, we are part of each other. And when they lose that connection, they go a bit crazy. Because it's all about them, and we're not born to be that way. We're just not born. We're born to love, whether we like it or not. The only difference between us and all the others, all the other things of this world, of nature, is we've been given the ability to self-realize, to know God, in other words. We're the only beings that can do that, and this is our mission here. So that's what he tells us. That's how you get attached to things, all right? So memorize this if you're a serious study. And for those who are teachers here, it's a really good one to quote. And for yoga therapists, it's excellent because you can really understand why people fall into this state of mind when they're angry. So, 64. But the yogi who has disciplined the mind and has control of the senses can move about amidst sense objects, free of attraction and aversion, settling more deeply into tranquility. So this is called sthita prajna, which means a person of steady wisdom. When you develop through your practice and non-attachment. When you do this, what happens? You can go anywhere. You can go into any difficult place, to a mental home, to be with people who are quite rough, or you can be at a beautiful party, but you will maintain your tranquility. You will not be caught by the wealth or the poverty. Neither will disturb you. You will be able to just watch it all with a balanced mind. Because some people, when they go to India, I don't know about you, they get very troubled, they get very nauseated. Now there's so much poverty, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And too much excitement, thinking something is wrong, is also not good. I'll give you an example of this, which again, the Gita guides you. When we went to Nepal one time, I took a group of people with me, and they're all big hearts, you know, people have big hearts, they want to serve. And I went with Hari, who was our guide, to look at some property for the school. So the rest of them were walking along this village, which was so poor at that time. No running water, nothing, you know. Anyway, we said we'd leave them for about a couple of hours and get back to them. Anyway, when I came back, they all were so excited. Oh, Nalanie, you know what we did? We saw these children going to school. So they carried lots of sweets from the shops they bought and started giving them sweets and biscuits and giving them so much stuff. Anyway, that afternoon, the parents came to find us and said, please, what have you done to our children? Tomorrow they said they don't want to go to school because these foreigners are giving them all the sweets and chocolates, so now they don't want to go to school. So now what have we done to them? We've associated foreigners with money, and this is good for us, and school isn't. We go to school, we get nothing. Do you see? So I really had to take the whole group and tell them all off. I said, look, that's why we have a guide. And that's why we get people the person who lives in the country to guide us. Because they know the culture of the people. You know, now they'll expect every time they see a foreigner, money, 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 money. And they won't want to work. So this is not the idea. We are here to give them education, to get water, to get electricity, to build the school. But we're not here to spoil them. They are not from the West. They are not used to those luxuries. And when they see it, it's like gold dust. So what are we teaching them? This is why you really have to be very balanced when you're doing this kind of work, or any work, to talk about any work. If you get very excited, then when things don't work out your way, you get really disappointed. It is the way it is. Is anything bad or good? No. We just have to, when we're calm and we see things, of course we want to help. But sometimes helping is standing back. All right? So this is, you can go anywhere and you have a balanced mind. In that tranquility, all sorrows fall away, because the discerning intellect of a calm mind is soon secure in equilibrium. So when you're calm, you know how you feel, right? Something's going wrong, everybody's going panicky, and you're calm. You feel really, the feeling is freedom. You love that freedom. You feel so happy to be in that freedom. 67. Like a ship tossed helplessly about by a gale, a mind subject to the roving senses loses all discrimination. The word for discrimination in Sanskrit is viveka. Can you all say it? Viveka. Viveka comes up a lot, all right? So you need to know this word, viveka. So roving sense loses all control. So if your senses are continuously outwards like the 5 horses, if you don't rein them in, what happens? They're constantly wanting, always. It's like a fever. It's like crazy. If this is not working, that's not working. And let's go here. Let's go. I want to make the decision. No. I'm going to ask somebody else. Let me talk to somebody else. And then 100 people give you advice. You go even more crazy. And you've forgotten how to intuit the situation yourself. This is why I always advise, if you have a problem, please don't talk to everyone about it. Choose a few people you trust and will give you the truth. Not flatter you, not tell you to leave your partner just because they're miserable, or to tell you to stay because they're happy, but to look at it neutrally because they love you and they want what's best for you. It's not that people don't, but perception is an incredible thing. We all perceive through our nervous system, right? And we perceive things from our past. But my past is not the same as your past, right? So you really have to be very balanced so that your mind doesn't go all over the place. Otherwise you'll be like a ship tossed in the sea. When the senses are completely withdrawn from the sense objects, Arjuna, then the mind is poised perfectly. Go inwards. What seems night to others is the state of awakening for one with a mind thus disciplined. And what appears day to others is as night to the sage who knows the self. Here he's simply saying, when you're enlightened, for you, what is night? To the person who's not enlightened, it is day. And for them, what is day? For you, it is night. In other words, you see it totally different. You will see things totally different from the rest of the world. And this is what you have to understand. And later on, chapter 4 tells us how to deal with this, right? And he'll say the wise will not disturb the unwise in chapter 4. Because you see things differently. It's not that they want to disagree with you, or they want to fight with you, or argue with you, or debate with you. It's just that they really see things differently. And being a yogi, you have to accept that. And we're not here, like I always say, we cannot change anybody. We can advise them. But if they don't want to listen, there's nothing more we can do. There's nothing more we can do. Because they just cannot see what you see. And then yes, people tell me, oh, but they're suffering and I'm trying to give them advice. And I go, yeah, but you've given them advice, but they haven't heard you. They haven't heard you. What, you're going to break your head? Well, after a while, you just have to step back and hope what I always do is when somebody's really suffering and I give them advice and they don't want to hear it, I just let it go and I just pray for them. Cover them in light. I hope you see it, because it's not hurting me, it's hurting you. But when I tell you, you get angry with me. So now it's hurting you and you're angry with me. There's two things you have to face. Better you don't get angry with me. Better don't come near you, because I'm going to give you the same advice. So let me just bless you from a distance. Okay? And this is how I do it. Bless them for it. It's not my place. It's not their time. When the time is right, they will know. Everybody will know. Who am I to change anybody? I'm here only to love. And that's how I deal with it. I'm here only to love. And if it's agitating me, I'm not going to sacrifice my peace too. I'm not going to sacrifice my peace. No way. So, and this is what a lot of human beings do, as you know, right? You want so much for your friend or person to get well. You want to rush it. You can't rush it. We can't rush it. Hopefully, they will see. And when they see, this is a time for celebration. It's a time for celebration. 70. Someone with personal desires will not experience true peace. But when all the desires merge like different rivers flowing into the vast deep ocean, then peace is easily realized. All he's saying, when he talks about personal desires, he's not talking about, personal, I want a sip of water, I'm thirsty. Not talking about that. He's talking about the desire that you're brooding on, okay, something you are attached to, right? And if you have that, and you really want that for yourself, I want that for me, I want that for me, you cannot experience peace. Sorry. It's just the way we're made. But when you accept, this is my goal, this is where I want to reach in life, surrender, I will do all the work that will lead me there. And no expectations. And the wonderful thing about having your goals and no expectations is when your goals don't come to pass, you realize there's a better road. But the problem is human beings, when they want this and this happens, they can't see the opportunity because they think, oh my God, this is a punishment. When really this punishment happened for this to happen, a better road. You just don't know it's going to be better, but it always is better. If you accept it, you flow. The road will flow for you. Like in Sri Patanjali in book 4, when he says it's like a field where you have these water, these gates, irrigation water gates, right? Once you understand, it's just obstacles, but once you understand, you don't see them as obstacles, they open up and the water just goes and waters the whole field. But you open one obstacle and don't look at it as an obstacle, all of them, ding, 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 will open by the force of the water, right? So here he's saying, but when you realize when the desires merge, okay, so for me, when I read this, what does he mean by when the desires merge, just like different rivers into the ocean? For me, it was easy to understand it by thinking of the ocean as the Lord of love or consciousness or God or whatever you want. This is God. So if I want to enter into this ocean, then I have to make my goal that ocean. And I know that I'm a river, a little brook or stream. And I know how difficult the river, the brook, or the stream, it is for them to face all the little rocks and, all the boulders and all the mountains and everything, and then to be small and then to grow big and then to grow bigger and into a river and then finally go into the ocean of love. So I realized what kept me small in my heart was focusing on my personal needs, I really want a home, I really want my own home, kind of thing. I don't really care anymore. I got it the moment I said that, And it's not that you don't care, it's just like, you know what, it's not so important. What's important is that I live every day in love. So the ultimate desire was peace for me, which is God, as you know, and love, which is God. in order to be in that space, the next two slokas explain it. You can't just think, I want this for me. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I'd love to tell you, be really selfish and it's going to work, but it's not. Unfortunately, it's not how we're made, because we're part of the whole. And here he says in 71, peace is experienced by anyone who lives without longing for anything. And this is the longing of the personal desires, right? Free of all personal desire and with no individual sense of me and mine. It's kind of like Mataji also talks about it, Gurudev's talk, where he says when you just have I with the LL, you become ill. But when you put we with the LL, you become well. And Gurudev did this talk at the University of Johns Hopkins for all the doctors there. He said this is the solution to medicine. When you think we as a unit, things work. When you think I, doesn't work. I want, I need, I have to have that, why can't I have this? You see, the I makes us ill. But we can't see it because in chapter 4, he'll explain why we can't see it. So this Arjuna is the absolute state. On experiencing it, there are no further questions. If established in this awareness at the time of bodily death, there is just the merging into the oneness that is God. And he goes, when you realize this, and you have no more questions. No more questions, no more questions. You know what your goal is, right? It's peace. Then you start to say, well, if I take 20 courses, will it give me my peace or will it make me be more agitated? You see? You start to see things differently. What gives me the most peace? And benefits the world. So you do both. You keep your time in stillness, which balances you, make yourself strong, and then you share that with the world. Here, no I, me, and my. And you know it, because the more you do it, the more you realize when you share, you're happy. That's why when we have satsang and we're together, what is the emotion that we're sharing? The energy, spirit. You know, because at this time, it's not about problems. Of course, when I talk, you'll lose half of what I have and you'll think about your own things. And hopefully while you are doing this, you can sort out what it is in your life that is keeping you from this peace. There's not God doing that. What are you doing in your life that is keeping you from this peace? Is it your attachment to a goal that you are not reaching? Because if it's attachment, the more you run after it, as Gurudev used to tell us, the more it runs away from you. Let go. Enjoy the journey of getting to the goal. Once you get there, sometimes it's not so much fun. Isn't it true? Sometimes when you prepare for a holiday, right? You get very excited. You look at the hotels, you look here, you look out there, and then you're so excited. And maybe when you get to the airport, then you have all the COVID tests, and then you get into the plane, then you end up with a mask, and you come out, and you get a cold, and all the excitement. Oh my God, I got here, and I'm sick. But it was just, so you just no point in getting so excited about that. Just have the goal and enjoy each moment. And then when things go wrong, you don't mind. And when you kind of flow with nature, it kind of listens to you. It just listens to you. It really does. And the Gita is confirming, but not only the Gita, so many other texts will confirm this. Lord Jesus, he tells us, for what does it benefit a man to gain the whole world at the cost of his soul? For what does it benefit us? These teachings keep telling us that. The truth, the way to the truth. So now we can move gently into chapter 3, which is really interesting, because chapter 3, he is talking about karma yoga, the yoga of action and reaction, right? And chapter 2, Lord Krishna was talking about the yoga of wisdom. He spoke about Samkhya philosophy, how we are Purusha, And we are also part of Prakriti. Nature talks about the gunas. So he's talking about theory. Then he tells us in order to understand this theory, we have to experience and practice. Then he tells us how we have to practice non-attachment. What causes attachment? Now in chapter 3, he's continuing and he's talking about the path of action. And here Arjuna gets a little confused, right? He goes, since you teach that the path of wisdom is better than the path of action, Krishna, why are you encouraging me to do this terrible act of war? I am confused by what seems to be a contradiction. Please tell me a sure way to attain the highest. So he's a bit confused. He said, why is he talking all about wisdom, but then he's telling me that I have to act? So now he's explaining why we have to act. The Blessed Lord said, Arjuna, in the beginning, I gave the world a twofold path. The way of discerning wisdom, jnana yoga, and the way of selfless action, karma yoga. Ceasing to do things will not make you actionless, nor will you rise to perfection simply by renouncing actions. He said, just because you don't like to do something, it doesn't make you actionless. Sometimes we don't like to do something, like when I first came to Gibraltar, I was spoiled. I don't like washing dishes. I don't like cleaning silver. I had to do it, right? I still had to do it because I had to do it. I had 2 children, I had to do it. So I don't want to do it. It doesn't get done, right? It doesn't get done. You just have to do it. So ceasing to do things will not make you action, because if you say, I don't want to do it, you still have to face it sooner or later. Have to face. That's why procrastination is not a good thing. You have to do something you don't like, do it right away. And then that's how I looked upon it. At that time I hadn't studied yoga, but then I thought, when I used to go to school and we used to have homework, I used to think on a Friday, I'm going to do it all so that I can enjoy Saturday and Sunday. So I looked about at cleaning and cooking and everything like that. If I do it right away in the morning, it's all done, then the whole day I can enjoy. And I don't have to think about it anymore. So, but you can't really stop, because if you stop and you just say, I don't want to do it, who's going to look after my kids? Who's going to feed my husband, my children? Do you see? So just ceasing to do it doesn't make it happen. And then neither will you rise to perfection. You won't feel good about yourself, would you? Just, I can't do it anymore. You don't feel good about yourself when you give up, do you? You feel really guilty. When people say, I can't do it anymore, they feel guilty, because they're not yet finished. They need to finish that that part of their story before they can be free from it. We have to really finish our karma before we can be free from it. And when you realize this is the karma that has come to me, I really need to feel free from it. I need to. So we'll go on till I am free from it. So bug me till the day I'm free from it. When it doesn't bug me anymore, or I learn to fight and let go. There's only 2 ways you can go, okay? Sometimes we have to fight. He says no one is free of actions even for a moment, because everyone is moved to do things by the qualities of nature. Whether you like it or not, you have to move. Even if you don't like it, your heart beats, right? And some people tell me, oh, Nalanie, I just want to die. And I say to them, do you think it's so easy to die? It's not. Especially when people have lost a spouse. Many times they come to tell me, oh no, I just wish I could die. I wish it was that easy. I used to feel that too when my husband passed away. But it's not easy to die just because you want to die. It's difficult. So I said, you might as well start to want to live and at least live it well, right? So you have to start to fall in love with life again. Otherwise, you want to die all the time. So it is not easy, And I said, suicide is a no-no, because you'll just have to come back and do it all over again. Do you really want to do all this again? No, I don't. So I said, wisdom, just go through it and get through it. And you will get through it. You will always get through it. You just have to know that you are always looked after when you're centered in the divine, when you're connected. You will always be looked after. You're just going through one of those rocks in the brook at the moment, but you'll soon pass it and become a river. Know that. You will never fail, because there's no such thing as failure. 6. Whoever stills the body as if seated in meditation, but mentally continues to think about the sense objects, is really deluded and a hypocrite. And he said, there are many people who pretend they're very holy and they meditate, but they're thinking, what can I get from this person? What can I make here and this? And can I be popular? Can I do this? You deluded and a hypocrite. Many people do that, okay? They pretend, but they have not. The goal is not peace. The goal is not connection. The goal is not love. The goal is still I, me, and mine. Right? Still I, me, for me. So they're meditating and say, I want this to happen, da, 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 da. So they start. They haven't understood. Okay? In order to excel, now he's telling us how to excel. Mentally control the senses. Let go all attachments and engage the body in karma yoga, selfless service. How do you do that? Do your duty. Such action is better than doing nothing. If you attempt to renounce all actions, it would be impossible to maintain your body. I already explained that. The world is bondage when actions are done just for your own sake. Therefore, Arjuna, make every action a sacrifice, utterly free of personal attachment. Now, it sounds really hard, make every action a sacrifice, but it's not. And how I understood this one is having children. And, when your children are ill or when they suffer, you give up things for them to see that they are happier. Or when you have family members who are ill, you happily sacrifice everything just to be with them, to look after them. When you do that, you feel really good about yourself. And I'll give you an example. Once I had a student and her mom got really, really ill. And she was the only daughter who could look after her mom. But she was angry. So she came to see me. She said, I just went through this terrible time. I need some time to enjoy my life. And now I have to devote all my time to seeing my mom in hospital every day. And I have to look after her. And I go, why are you so angry? Who's told you have to look after your mom? She says, no, I should, because who else? I said, you are telling me you know you should. And you're telling me in the same breath you don't want to. But you not wanting to is making you angry, upset, and not liking yourself. That's why you're here. She said, Nalanie, I'm so angry with myself, but how do I do this? Because I really want to look after my mother. She's wonderful, but I really don't want to waste all my time in the hospital. And I said, just do the action that has come to you and think of it as service to God. Your mom served you all those years when you were a child. She gave you food, she gave you clothes, she looked after you all those years. So now, just think you're repaying your karma. How lucky to have such a job to look after your mother. I said, I wish I do. My mother is so far away. And now with COVID, my mother's in hospital, I can't be there. It's so lucky to be given this job to look after someone. It is such an honor to be asked to look after someone. It's such an honor. And you take it as a problem. So she went back and she practices non-attachment. I said, what are you rushing for anyway? What do you do normally when you finish work anyway? And then she thought about it. So she looked after her mom day after day, and every day she got closer to her mom. And then they talked about things that they'd never talked about before, and they had such quality time together. So when the mother passed, guess what? She felt she did her best for her mom because she was selfless. She didn't put herself first. Everybody benefited. Yes, maybe for a year of her life, she went every evening to the hospital, but the goodbye was closure. And now she could move on in her life. Now, and she came to me and she said if she hadn't done that, she could have never lived with herself. You see?
Guilt.
Yeah. Guilt, yeah. And many people, when they lose a spouse, they tell me that. Guilt. I wish I was nicer. I wish I didn't shout at them so much. I wish I didn't scream. It's guilt. No, don't you feel any guilt? I said, no, my husband and I had closure because I've been practicing. That's why it's too late. When the thing happens, you have to practice before the thing happens. Because once it happens, you're not ready. You cannot do it overnight. You cannot change. It's better to change now. And nothing to change. It's already who you are. We were born to serve. We're born to love. That's why when you do something good for people, you feel so happy. You feel so happy. And it's so nice. And everybody benefits. So, yeah, it is like this. The world is bondage when we do things only for our own sake. Gurudev always gives the example of the apple tree. He always used to use that apple tree, and he'd say, look at the apple tree. As soon as it's ripe, it just gives itself to the world. Orange trees, fruits, right? They just serve us when they're most beautiful. Flowers, when do we pick them? When they're most beautiful. So all nature serves us. It is only mankind that will kill before the time. It's the only species that does that. All the other species kill for a reason. They're really hungry and they really have to eat. And so, it's the way it works. Evolution of animals, amoeba to bigger animals. But mankind is the only species that kills for greed. So, and we sacrifice that greed, then can you imagine our world? If everybody sacrificed their greed, can you imagine, really? Our world would be such a nice place. We have enough food to feed everyone on this earth. Supermarkets throw thousands away. Why? To keep the prices up. Why not just give it? Greed. And it just needs that shift in consciousness. And if all businesses start to do this, then our world would really work. But it starts with one person, right? Starts with one person. So here I'm going to run through the next few quite quickly. 10. After creating humankind together with yajna means sacrifice, the Creator said, through sacrifice you will increase yourself and get everything that you want. So when you let go, you will actually receive everything that you want. Seek ye the kingdom of God and all its righteousness, and everything else will be added on to you. So if you do the right act, don't worry about it. It might seem hard now, that sacrifice, but you will get everything that you want. Through sacrifice, you cherish the gods, and they cherish you. Thus, loving one another, you reap the very highest. Because it's not all about you, it's all about we and the circumstance, and just serving where you have to be, you're called to serve. The gods will be happy because this is a job they gave you. Instrument of peace, and you're just doing it with peace. And because you're doing it with peace, they'll look after you. Because that's what you're doing. 12. Cherished by your spirit of sacrifice, the gods give you everything you want. But remember, whoever receives gifts from the gods without offering anything back in return is a thief. Everything we have here is given to us by nature. We can call it our work, but really nature is the one who gives it to our parents and gives it to us. And well, yes, always give something back. That's why when business people come to see me, I say, and they feel, I say, you feel so poor because you don't know how to give. You have millions and you don't see millions. You see, I'm going to lose another million or another 350,000 in these stocks, but you have millions. Why haven't you given it to somebody better than losing it in the stocks, right? And then I talk to them about this. I said, you should give at least a percentage of everything you make, something you make, to charity. Always, I taught my children that as well. Whatever you make, always give a little percentage every month. It doesn't have to be, it can be 1%. But give it to charity.
There are 5 types of giving and taking. The Gita gives names to them. If you take 100% and don't give anything in return, you can be called a thief. If you take 100% and give 50%, you're a debtor. If you take 100% and give 100%, you're a good business person. That's how business should be done. Give in return for what is received. If a business person gets $10, he or she should be sure that to give $10 worth of goods or services. That's fair business. Next, if you take 50% and give 100%, you are called a righteous person. But if someone takes nothing and gives even 10%, 15%, or 100%, whatever possible, what do you call that person? A saint, a yogi.
Move it, share it, and you will be tested. You will be asked to use it, share it, move it, and it's great. You have fun. It's like, you're playing a dance with God, and this is what it's saying. It is saying that don't be afraid of this giving, self-sacrifice. Don't be afraid. You will be tested. You'll be put through a really rough time. I knew I was just an instrument. As we all are. You see, if you can recognize that we all are instruments and move forward, then, the gods will help us with whatever we need. We're all just instruments. So wherever you put in life, whatever business, whatever place, make the best of it. This is karma yoga. Because you are put there because there is some karma you have to let go of. You are suffering only because the lesson is for you, nobody else. And when you don't listen to lesson, you will keep suffering until you say, I'm done. I trust. I'm not in control. It's nothing about me. It's about service. Got it? So this is what he's saying here. Righteous people who eat what is left after sacrifice are freed from past sins, but those who prepare food only for themselves are creating more sin. Now, what does he mean by sin here? I don't like the word sin, so I kind of like to use the word obstacle. When you just cook, he's talking about food, but when we talk about food, we talk about physical food, we talk about spiritual food. So those who just cook for themselves and don't offer it. What does that mean? It's, for example, many teachers today, I remember once I had an art teacher. I went to an art teacher after I'd come out of university because I wanted to paint when I was in Gibraltar, and I thought I need to be in a company of a teacher. And I went to this art class and I wanted to mix a color, and I asked her, I can't seem to get this browny beige color, but it looks so rich like soil. I can't seem to get this soil color. How do you do it? She said, I can't tell you. It's my secret. Guess what? I didn't go back. I just didn't go back because I could feel, what's the point? She's not interested in teaching me. She's interested in me in getting students, but she's not interested in teaching me. I want to learn. I'm not going to waste 2 hours just to be told I'm not learning anything new. So, and you can feel that's an obstacle for them. Not for me, I went and found another teacher. But it's an obstacle for them. They stay stuck in that ego, in that horrible place. Lost respect. What I thought was a great artist, totally lost respect for her. So who was the loser in the end? Do you see? But when you share and when you love and you do, then everybody becomes the winner. It's win-win. It is the truth. 14. From food all beings arise. From rain food originates. Rain is the result of selfless sacrifice, and sacrifice is the result of actions. He is just saying that we work with nature. When you sacrifice, the ground, the sun takes the water off the ground, and when everything is in motion, when we are in tune with all nature, then rain comes. And many times when we do a retreat and there's a little rain, we always say, we quote this one, we go, oh, God was happy with us today. We did good work, we did a good retreat, there's a bit of rain, the gods are happy, or there's a bit of wind, the gods are happy with us, because in the Upanishads it just says when you're deep in meditation and you hear the sound of strong winds, the gods are with you and they are praising you. Isn't that lovely to hear? So know that action, karma, comes from the creative intelligence, Brahma, which is of the imperishable, the eternal. The all-pervading Brahma, thus, is forever centered in self-sacrifice. So all he's saying is that God is a creative intelligence. We are all created from that intelligence. So ultimately, we all come from that. That comes from Brahma. This is why Gurudev said, Lord, make me your flute and play your music through me. Just let the music come through me. And because Brahma is the one who will guide us. Where we go, we put if our motive is service and not personal gain. I'm doing it because I want to be famous. I want thousands on Instagram or people on Facebook, millions of followers. For me, that's just too much work. Such a headache, It takes too much time when you can be in this world and be with people. Because what you would like is the people who really want the truth. And sorry, the truth is not sometimes what they want to hear. That you have to do it yourself. That you have to be the instrument of peace that you are. And you haven't got to be afraid of sacrifice. In the long run, it pays off. All mothers know this. All families know this. Everything pays off. What you put in, you will get back. The good you do comes back to you. The evil you do stays with you. And this is so important. So here he's telling us, 60, anyone here on earth, Arjuna, who does not align himself with the revolving wheel, sacrifice, action, God, sacrifice, but instead chooses to waste his life delighting only in the senses, lives in vain. So whoever just wants to delight in the senses, and actually people who want to do that, don't do that. Because the other day I had somebody who saw me, he goes, I'm tired of doing nothing and just going out for drinking, eating, parties. It's really tired. They're retired, but they're exhausted. They're exhausted. I'm tired of doing nothing. I need to do something. And I said, well, take a course or do something, or study something new, or come in here or do something. You're feeling useless because you can't do it. I said, we go on holiday for a week and we're ready to come back because just doing nothing after a while makes you feel so exhausted. Like you don't feel useful. You feel like my life is going by tick, tick, tick too quickly. I needed the rest. 1 week is good enough. Let's get back to work. Just get back to get useful. Your soul calls for it. Your soul calls for it. Whoever delights in the Atman finds satisfaction in the self and is centered in the self surely has no further duties. Once you know that the divine is in you and you're guided, you don't worry about what's your duty. You just do whatever comes for you. Then at last, there is nothing to get by doing something, nothing to lose by doing nothing, and no dependencies on anyone or anything. And he said, this is the last That means at the end of all this, you'll start to realize, ultimately, I think of Peter Sellers. Dead end, dead end, dead end, dead end, dead end. Dead end. My brother used to say dead end, dead end. And I think, okay, I get all this knowledge and I get this and I get that. And when I die, what? What happens then? Where does it go? 50 years later, 2 years later, 10 years, 1 year later after I die. Who does this go to? I don't know what's going to happen, right? Not mine anymore. Nothing is mine. Nothing. And then you think, so why stress out about all this stuff? It's all stress about stuff that comes to a dead end. What doesn't come to a dead end? You tell me. You tell me. What doesn't come to a dead end? Your soul. Everything else is a dead end. You start to realize that. Once you realize that, what happens? The attachments start to drop away. You don't even have to fight it. That's why Master Shivananda said, just by meditating, and Sri Patanjali, just by meditating on the infinite, the divine, just meditate on the divine, all will drop away. Anger, fear, worry. Therefore, always do your duty without attachment. If you do things without desiring the results for yourself, you will experience the highest state. King Janaka and many others reached perfection through karma yoga, the path of selfless action. In order to guide others, you too should follow this path of action. Whatever a great person does is followed by others who set their standard by his or her example. Now, here he's talking about King Janaka. King Janaka was a king, but he was so detached from everything. He was born a king. He knew that was his karma. So he was a perfect king. He did everything for the nation. He did everything for the people, like politicians should do. Everything for the service of the people, right? And he did that. So much so that the greatest sage of that time, Yajnavalkya, who was known to be, wow, such a yogi and such a guru, sent his own child to King Janaka to be initiated, even though he was a king, because he lived perfectly. He did his karma perfectly. So here he's telling you. And King Janaka knew that was his duty, so he took the path of selfless action, serving the nation, so that he could purify his karma. He was brought that way. It reminds me of my dad. May I bring in this story? Many years ago, Swami Satchidananda asked my father, when he was in Hong Kong, he said to my father, he said, George, Dada George, why don't you come to America? You be my disciple and you carry on with me, work with me. You would make a great master. You are a great master. And my father said, no, Swamiji, I cannot do that. Because if I do that, I will not be doing my duty. I am the eldest son of this family. We all live in one house. That's how we brought up, 52 bedrooms. And he goes, if I go, what will happen to my duty? I was born to do this duty, and this is my work. So Swamiji, forgive me. And Gurudev said to him, you're a wise man. He said, now this is a man of wisdom. He has all this, and he's not attached to any of it. Every action is service for his family. And he's so joyful, which is true. My father, first thing in the morning, he'd get up, sit with his cancer, sit on the bed, had a picture of Guru Nanak right opposite him. Thank you, God, thank you. Give me strength to face the pain, to go through the day. Every morning, first thing, thank you. Just out of bed, with pain, with cancer. First words, thank you. And this is the secret of love and success. And this goes on for generations. Whatever you do, your children will benefit. Whatever you don't do, they will suffer. This is why even in the Bible, Jesus says, no, what does it say? I forgot.
Something about the sins of the father.
This will, yeah. Thank you. The sins of the father will come to the children. What does it mean? It's just the example, right? If you have an example of parents always arguing and screaming, you will become always arguing and screaming. That's very hard. That's why you can't judge these people when they come to me and they got bad tempers. And I find out the only reason they're like that is because the parents always shouted at them. So then it's years of deconditioning this, right? It's deconditioning, but it's so much damage done. Why do that damage in the first place? And if you've done the damage, there's still time to repair. I tell parents, or I tell children, if you've done damage, there's time while they're alive. Go and fix it. Go and fix it. And if they don't want to fix it, because sometimes people, even if you go, they don't want to fix it, then at least you've done your duty. You've done it. You've done your part. And then if anything happens, you are free from that karma because you finished your karma there. They haven't. They're not free, unfortunately. So anyway, and so whatever a great person does, people will follow the example. This is why it's so important for us in our place, whatever we do, whatever work we're driven to do, whichever friends we are given to meet, is to be the best example for those friends. Because if we are the best examples for them, they have something to imitate. And they want to imitate. They see that by the way you're behaving, that, wow, there's some presence, some peace there. So they feel the peace and they want the peace. So, and this can only be done by example. I'd like you this week to really reflect on your life, on things. Reflect, just reflect. Look over things in the past that you've done that have may caused other people a lot of pain, including yourself. Look at it. Don't judge it, okay? Don't judge it. Just look at it and see your part in it, not the other person's, because it's very easy always to see the other person's. Did you encourage this bad behavior? And then once you look, see if you can see the truth of every situation. Once you do, forgive it, but remember it. And then by remembering it, tell yourself, I will not repeat this mistake. And if I do, I will apologize to myself right away and apologize to that person right away, no ego, and let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go. There are some things in this life that we cannot fix. And if you do your best, you really just have to let it go, okay? That again is another non-attachment. Sometimes we're so emotionally attached to people that we want to fix constantly, try and fix it, but they don't want. Really, you do your best, and after a while just wash your hands out. You can't. Do your best and walk away. Sometimes you may have to keep on going, especially if you're wrong and you know you're responsible for that anger. Then you also need to keep working on yourself, and you need to apologize that ego. So by reflecting thus, you will start to see things very clearly. Because you're not judging yourself, you are watching yourself, as if you're watching a patient or somebody you love very much, and you realize they only made that mistake because they didn't know better. But now you, as who you are today, you know much better. And all those mistakes have taken you to a place where you can be free and let them all go. If you want, you can do it. And you have to let them go from here. So all this, like Gurudev said, I can't, it's not possible, and this, and guilt, and fear, and worry, doesn't work. And going back to blame all the abuse in your life also doesn't work. Once you've told people 1,000 times that you've been abused, the more you say it, the more abused you feel. It's time to let that go too. You have to understand it was just your karma. How lucky you have information to heal yourself. How blessed that you can use this information to serve others. You chose to go through that so you could be the instrument of service, because you're the one who understands what that suffering is. And then if there are quirks in your personality, if you're very sensitive, every time people say something like, you're so silly, and you take it personally, start to realize you have a big ego. I did. And my husband goes, oh, don't be such an idiot. And go, blah, blah, blah. And then if I was an idiot, I realized, well, I was an idiot. Why am I taking it so personally? I was. I go and say, yeah, you know what? I was an idiot. But I don't like that word. But if I stopped doing that stupid act, I would no longer be an idiot, would I? So I stopped. That's how to stop the word. So this is what you have to reflect. And you realize that those people are the best gifts in your life, because they make you look at you. Otherwise, you're always suffering. You're always suffering. And there's no need for that. If you just change yourself to let go of all those versions of you that you think you should be like. All those versions to please society. You don't have to do any of that version. The best version of you is inside of you. In the next few slokas, when we go next week, we will be talking about exactly that. Do what comes naturally to you. Most of us feel we're the victims deep in our hearts. Even though we try to cure ourselves, we still feel that. Only way to get through it is to understand that it was all done in love. Everything, even the horrible things, for us to learn. We chose to learn. So, don't take life too seriously is the end of the... And be you. And behave selflessly as you. Be yourself totally, happily. Doesn't matter if people call you crazy. It's okay, just be you, all right? You don't want to be anybody else. Got it? Just fix those idiosyncrasies in yourself and be happy. It was never personal. Remember, even you come to a dead end, your personality. So what is there to be attached to about what people see you as or how they see you? They will always find fault in you, and they will always find good things in you. It's how you live with yourself at night when you go to bed. The song by Peter Sarsted. Where do you go to, my lovely, when you're alone in your bed? What are the thoughts that surround you? I want to look inside your head. Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. It's true, because that's the real you, that one that's in your bed at night. And that was the great lesson I learned from one of my students when he was really sick in hospital. And this was going back to my first 10 years of teaching. And I went to see him, and he had a wife, he had a child. They went to see him, and he said to me, Nalanie, I had learned a great lesson. I said, what lesson have you learned? He said, I'm all alone. I said, but your wife is there and your daughter comes. They come 2 hours a day. I'm alone in my pain. But he says, you know what? I'm really not alone, because the only one that's with me is my God and my mind and my thoughts. So I am doing my mantra constantly, and that is my best friend. And I realized, wow, he had to go through such pain. He said in his most severest hours of pain, nobody was with him. And you all know it. Anybody suffer pain? In your most, people can comfort you, but can anybody do it for you? It's your own inner strength, right? It's the divine in you that gets you through this. Gets you through. It's your attitude. It's your attitude throughout suffering. It's all in your mind. If your attitude is, wow, this is teaching me a lesson, this is a blessing, you will go forward in the evolution of love. If you say this is a punishment, you will suffer. Choice is ours. And this is the choice Krishna is giving Arjuna. Up to you. You have to do this. If you don't want to do it, this is going to happen. It's up to you though. If you do it, this is going to happen. All right? But the choice is always up here. So we have to keep this really clean and calm. And that's the lesson today, Buddhi Yoga.